Well, hey there! Thanks for stopping by and watching this video. My name is Jeff. This is Jeff Talks Stocks, and today I am going to talk with you about two great tools for investing in the stock market. So let's get started. So the first tool is what I will call the Buffett punch card approach. And this is something that Warren Buffett talks about when he meets up with high school and college students and they ask him for advice, one piece of advice about investing. And he says, you should imagine that you get one punch card with 20 punches on it, and you can only use those 20 punches for your entire investing lifetime. And each punch, each hole that you punch in that card represents a stock that you buy. And he said that if you are limited and you can only use those 20 holes punched in that card over your entire investing lifetime, you will have much better returns than other people who just buy and sell stocks willy-nilly without really thinking much and learning much about the companies they invest in. Now the second tool is what I will call the Robinhood Approach, or the learn by doing approach. They are right here. And the Robinhood Approach would not have even been something you could think about a few years ago because there was no free trading, using an app. So buying and selling a stock, if you just wanted to buy one or two or three shares, would cost at least $5 or $7 to buy and the same amount to sell. So it would be pointless to buy a $15 stock if it costs you that much to buy it. But now that stock trading is free and there's no commission to buy or sell, this is now an option. And I think learning by doing is a great approach to investing because, if you were to learn a sport, if you wanted to learn how to play tennis, for example, you could read and you could watch videos and you could learn all about tennis, but there's no substitute for getting out on the tennis court with a racket and a ball and a friend and hitting the ball over the net. And you'd get great feedback just through practicing about what works and what doesn't. And there's something to be said for that first-hand experience. And the same would go for if you wanted to learn how to play cello or how to play piano or violin or guitar. You can watch videos on YouTube, but until you pick up the instrument and actually practice and play, you're really not going to be getting that first-hand feedback and knowledge about whether you're any good and what works and what doesn't. Experimentation, failing, succeeding, your brain is going to use all this information and help you to improve. And so I think the best thing you can have if you are doing this kind of learning a sport or a musical instrument towards investing in stocks is you need to have good teachers. You need to have good information and useful information so that if you have questions about things, you can accelerate your learning process so that you're not having to wonder why things are going like they're going or why they're succeeding or failing. Given these two approaches, I think you need to figure out which one works best for you. I wouldn't say that one is one size fits all. I think some people will like the first Buffett approach where you really do learn a lot about companies and being really thoughtful before you invest. And then some people just want to buy stock in a few different companies and see how the stock does. And that's a valid approach too. There's one thing that I didn't learn about until really recently, and it's really opened my eyes and helped me to understand investing in a much better, deeper way. And this is something I want to share with you guys because I think this kind of knowledge will stick with you for life, and it will really help you whenever you're trying to make a decision about whether to buy a stock. The first way that people can approach investing is really the Buffett approach, which is viewing stock as part ownership of a business. Because when you buy stock, you actually are a part owner of a business. So he says when you look at the business, you're going to think of buying part of a business just like if you were buying an apartment building. And if you bought the apartment building, you'd have to figure out how much can I rent each of the units for? How much does it cost to buy the apartment building? And what will the cash flows be for 1 year and 2 years and 3 years? When can I pay off the apartment building? And the same thing if you bought a farm or something that was going to generate income in terms of selling fruits and vegetables. You would try to figure out how much is the price of the asset and then what am I going to get back from it in the future. And when you buy stock, you really, these businesses you're buying stock in, they're generating profits every year. And they can either reinvest the profit into the business or they can distribute it to the owners, who are you, the stockholders, in terms of a dividend. When you think on the Buffett way, you're really thinking like a business owner. And that is one way to approach investing. The other is what I often see when I'm watching YouTube videos. You probably see it as well. And maybe you even, assume this approach to investing. And that is more of a speculative or a gambling approach where you're looking at the price of the stock. And it's very addictive, and I can see why a lot of people do it. It's fun and it's exciting, but when you're looking at the price, and you're only looking at the price and you don't really truly understand the business, then you're speculating. And you're speculating because you're hoping that you can sell that stock later at a higher price to somebody else who will, be the greater fool than you, who will be a sucker and will pay you this high price, and you'll get out just in time and you'll lock in your profit. So anyways, keep this in mind. Owning part of a business or gambling on the price. And when you hear people talking about the stock price this, the stock price that, keep in mind they're looking at, and I'm not saying that this is wrong, I'm just saying be aware when you do it. And there are lots of things in life where you're not 100% sure, and you might buy a stock without knowing 100% about anything, and there's a certain aspect where you're speculating that things will work out in a great way. But just be aware of the difference between investing in businesses and speculating on price. And if you can be clear in your mind, you are going to be much better off as an investor. And since this is a video to help people who are beginning invest in the stock market, I just wanted to share 4 tips that I think will be super useful as you set out to make investment decisions. And they are right here. And I will explain them all to you. These are things that you want to look for and you want to think about before you ever buy a stock. So the first thing is you really want to understand the business. So you want to know, just as an example, I'll use Apple because just about everyone knows about it. So you want to understand what their products are. I think their main one, safe to say, would be the iPhone. So you need to know, do people seem to really like this phone enough to pay higher and higher prices for it? When people buy a new phone after an iPhone, are they going to buy some other cheaper phone, or are they probably going to stay loyal to Apple and to the brand and buy another iPhone? And then you got to look at the other things that the company's doing with whether it's their laptops or their streaming services or whatever, the Apple Watch. But you got to kind of try to figure out whether you understand that business. If you don't, you probably don't have much of a reason to be an investor in the company long term. So learn about the company first, understand it. Number 2 is moat. So that is another way of saying a durable competitive advantage. And that is what protects a company and makes it resistant from competition, so that when you're buying the stock now, they're probably going to be in business in 10 years and in 20 years because they have a durable competitive advantage. They have products that are quality, that they have customers that are happy, and they generate cash flow and they generate profits year after year. So that would be a moat. You want to invest in a company that has leadership, managers with a lot of talent and integrity. Watch YouTube videos, see if you can find interviews with the CEO. Download the annual report off of the company's website and read it and see whether you agree with what the CEO and the leaders of the company are doing and whether this makes sense to you. But you need to pay attention to leaders, and if you ignore leadership, you might be involved in a company that that's going to wind up being a really bad company to invest in, and later you'll kick yourself and you say, geez, if only I'd known what the people running the show were all about. So pay attention to the leadership and make sure they're talented and have a lot of integrity. And finally, no company, no matter how wonderful, is worth an infinite price. So what you want to do is, once a company fulfills all the other criteria, you want to make sure that you're buying it at a price that makes sense to you, taking into account all of the vicissitudes of life, the stock market going up and down. Maybe your math and your calculations aren't perfect. So you want to see if you can pay less. Definitely avoid overpaying for stock. Just as an example, so there are a few companies I've been looking at. I haven't bought them because the prices I think are a little bit high, but they meet the other criteria. I understand them. They have a wide moat. They have CEOs that have a lot of talent and they have a lot of integrity, and the price, it just seemed a little bit high. But I noticed today Nike stock price was down about 6%. They had earnings release, and I'm not exactly sure of the details of it. They might have had a profitable quarter, but not as much as Wall Street had expected, and all of a sudden the stock gets whacked like 6%. So now you're looking at the price being a lot cheaper than it was yesterday. And what I like to do is just be patient. If I'm thinking about investing in a company and it's meeting all the criteria, I might wait a little, and who knows, maybe the stock price could go down another 4 or 5%, and now you're looking at a 10% discount on the stock. And if the company long term is going to be solid, and they're going to be selling clothes, and they're going to be selling sneakers, and they're going to be selling, apps that you can use on your Nike watch and buy stuff using your watch and stuff like that. I mean, they're adapting to technology. It seems like a solid company. Is it really the whole company, the whole stock worth 4% or 5%, or I guess today 6% less than it was yesterday? Probably not. And sometimes what you'll find is the price of the stock and the value of the company diverge. At times they stay together, and what you pay accurately reflects what you get. But sometimes the price goes one way, like down, and the company is still at a good value. So you want to find times when the price and the value of the company diverge, and when it becomes cheap enough. And you should really know, like you'll know when a stock price of a great company goes down 15% because investors are getting emotional. That can be a really good opportunity for you, and that's your chance to make money and get paid as an investor when you're patient and the stock price goes down and you know it's a great company, it has great leaders, it has a moat, and now it's cheap. I hope this is useful. If you have any questions about any of the things I talked about, please just put them in the comment section below. Ask anything. Tell me what you think about the video. If there's anything you want to know more about, then just let me know and I will make a future video about it. I'll include as much info as what I went through. I'll include that in the description so you can look through there, hopefully get a little bit more clarity on some of the things I talked about. I hope this info is useful to you. I also have a book that I just published. It's called Stock Market Intelligence. It's on Amazon. You can get a version for Kindle or one in paperback. So that might be useful for you. You can check it out. There's a link in the description to this video. And if you like this, please give me a thumbs up. And also consider subscribing. That way you'll get a notification when I get a new video out. And also tap the little bell icon. You'll get that notification. Thanks so much for taking the time, and I appreciate your efforts to learn more about investing, and I hope that everything you learn here is useful to you in your future decision making. I'll see you in the next video.